Welcome to Dolphin Dive Daily, your go-to spot for everything Miami Dolphins. If you bleed aqua and orange, hit that subscribe button and join the pod. As the 2025 NFL Draft draws closer, speculation continues to intensify around the Miami Dolphins and their potential approach to a pivotal decision that could shape the team's immediate future and long-term stability. One of the central narratives emerging from South Florida involves none other than Tua Tagovailoa, the team's starting quarterback and former first-round pick who has shown flashes of brilliance, yet continues to be followed by a cloud of uncertainty due to his ongoing injury concerns. When Tagovailoa is on the field and fully healthy, there's little doubt he has the tools to lead a high-powered offense. His timing, accuracy, and understanding of the game allow the Dolphins to compete with just about anyone in the league. However, the cruel reality of football, and perhaps more so in Miami's case, is that durability has become a recurring issue. Time and again, Tua has suffered setbacks that leave the team scrambling for answers. And last season, the consequences of not having a solid backup plan became painfully evident. The Dolphins stumbled in key games, ultimately missing the playoffs, in part because they didn't have an adequate replacement when their star quarterback was sidelined. This offseason, the Dolphins made a move to add former New York Jets quarterback Zach Wilson through free agency. While Wilson brings with him the pedigree of a high draft pick and some in-game experience, his tenure in New York was marked more by inconsistency and frustration than by flashes of star power. Now he enters a new chapter in his career hoping to resurrect his name in Miami. Yet for a team with playoff aspirations and a roster built to win now, relying solely on Wilson as a contingency plan seems risky at best. Behind him is Skylar Thompson, who the Dolphins selected in the 7th round of the 2022 NFL Draft. Thompson has had limited starting opportunities and compiled a 1-3 record in his brief appearances. After being demoted on the depth chart, he's now found a home in Pittsburgh as a backup for the Steelers, leaving Miami with just 2 quarterbacks currently under contract. Given this context, the question looming over the franchise isn't just whether Tua Tagovailoa can stay healthy, it's whether the Dolphins can afford not to prepare for the possibility that he won't. And that's where the NFL Draft comes into the picture, particularly the early to middle rounds where several intriguing quarterback prospects are expected to be available. According to a report by Jonathan Jones of CBS Sports, sources around the league are pointing to Miami as a team that could be eyeing a quarterback somewhere between the 2nd and 4th rounds. With a total of 10 draft picks, including 4 selections within that critical window, the Dolphins possess enough draft capital to maneuver and address their quarterback depth without having to sacrifice other key areas of need. This opens the door for a strategic move, one that doesn't necessarily threaten Tua's starting role in the short term, but instead provides a safety net for the franchise moving forward. Jones highlighted this possibility in his recent report, stating that Miami is the other team sources are eyeing as a potential quarterback grabber during those rounds. This insight adds another layer of intrigue to the Dolphins' draft night strategy. Whether they stay put or decide to move up or down the board, it seems increasingly likely that a quarterback is on their radar. One name that continues to be linked to Miami is Quinn Ewers, the talented but polarizing quarterback out of Texas. ESPN draft analyst Jordan Reed recently published a mock draft in which he projected Ewers to land with the Dolphins via the 135th overall pick in the 4th round. While that placement might raise some eyebrows, especially considering the volatility of draft projections, there's no denying that Ewers brings a unique skill set and intriguing upside. Ewers, who once held the title of the nation's top high school quarterback recruit, has had a collegiate journey marked by both promise and adversity. After a brief stint at Ohio State that saw him redshirt without taking a single snap, he transferred to the University of Texas, where he began to find his rhythm and showcase the talent that had once made him a household name in recruiting circles. In the 2024 season, Ewers put together a solid campaign, throwing for 3,472 yards and 31 touchdowns against a schedule that featured some of the toughest defenses in college football. His performances were highlighted by a blend of arm strength, poise, and the occasional off-script play that gave scouts a glimpse of his potential at the next level. What makes Ewers such a compelling target for the Dolphins isn't just his stat line, it's the way he handled adversity and grew into his role at Texas, operating in a conference known for its physicality and defensive depth. Ewers demonstrated a level of resilience and adaptability that will serve him well in the NFL. He's not a finished product by any means. There are areas of his game that require refinement, such as his decision-making under pressure and consistency with footwork. But in the fourth round, where most teams are hoping to find developmental talent with starter potential, Ewers represents a calculated gamble. For Miami, selecting a quarterback like Ewers would signal a balanced approach, acknowledging the need for insurance behind Tua without igniting a full-blown quarterback controversy. It would give the coaching staff a young arm to mold, someone who can be eased into the system without the pressure of having to start right away. And in the event of another injury to Tagovailoa, the Dolphins would at least have a quarterback with upside rather than scrambling to adjust mid-season. This strategy also aligns with the broader trends we've seen across the NFL in recent years. More and more franchises are realizing the importance of depth at the quarterback position, especially in a league where a single injury can derail an entire season. Backup quarterbacks are no longer viewed as afterthoughts. They're essential components of roster construction. The Kansas City Chiefs, Philadelphia Eagles, and San Francisco 49ers have all experienced moments in recent years where a strong QB2 has made a crucial difference. Miami would be wise to take notes. Beyond Ewers, there are other quarterbacks who might draw interest from Miami depending on how the board shakes out. Names like Michael Pratt from Tulane, Joe Milton from Tennessee, and Spencer Rattler from South Carolina have all been mentioned as potential mid-round targets. Each brings a unique blend of traits, and while none are surefire stars, they could thrive in a system tailored to their strengths. Ultimately, the Dolphins' decision at quarterback during the 2025 NFL Draft will be a reflection of how they view their current situation and their long-term aspirations. If they believe that Tua Tagovailoa is the future, then the goal would be to support him without undermining his role. But if there are lingering concerns about his ability to stay on the field, then preparing for life after Tua becomes not just smart, it becomes essential. In a league driven by quarterback play, the margin for error is razor thin. Miami has a talented roster, a creative coaching staff, and a fan base hungry for postseason success. Whether the team chooses to ride with Tua and Zach Wilson or adds a new name to the mix via the draft, the outcome of their 2025 season may very well hinge on the decision they make later this week. The Dolphins front office has played its cards close to the vest so far, but if league chatter is any indication, they are strongly considering reinforcing the quarterback room with a fresh young talent. If Quinn Ewers is the name called in the fourth round, it will mark the beginning of a new developmental project in Miami, one that could pay dividends if managed correctly. And if not Ewers, it's clear the Dolphins are at least preparing for all scenarios, understanding that in today's NFL, you're only ever one play away from finding out just how deep your quarterback room really is. Still with us? Then show some love, hit that like button, and let us know in the comments. What's your take on the Fins this week? It's the kind of announcement that sends shockwaves through the NFL landscape, not just because of what it means for one team, but because of what it suggests about the future of a franchise that once seemed on the cusp of something special. When Tua Tagovailoa revealed that he would no longer be playing alongside Tyreek Hill in a Miami Dolphins uniform, it wasn't just a statement. It was a moment, a line in the sand, a pivot point in the story of a team that's been chasing greatness since the days of Dan Marino. And let's be clear, this wasn't some vague comment left open to interpretation. No cryptic social media post, no beat reporter leaking something from inside the locker room. Tua himself, the leader under center, the face of this franchise since being drafted 5th overall in 2020, stepped up and made it known he and Tyreek Hill are going their separate ways, at least when it comes to wearing aqua and orange. For a fan base that had come to view the Tua-Tyreek duo as the core of a high-powered offensive identity, the revelation hit hard. Think back to when Tyreek Hill first arrived in Miami. It was one of the boldest moves the franchise had made in Years. Trading for one of the most electrifying wide receivers in the NFL, the Cheetah himself, was more than just an attempt to improve the offense. It was a declaration that Miami was done playing it safe, that they were ready to run with the big dogs. And for a time it worked. The chemistry between Hill and Tua was almost instant. Deep balls, quick slants, yards after catch, explosive touchdowns. At their best, the Dolphins looked unstoppable, but now all of that seems like a memory, one that fans will revisit with a sense of longing, maybe even confusion, because the question that immediately follows Tua's revelation is the obvious one. Why? What happened behind the scenes to bring this partnership to an end? There's no doubt that the NFL is a business. Players come and go. Cap space is tight. Coaches make difficult decisions. But when a connection like Tua and Tyreek breaks apart, it rarely happens without some kind of fracture, be it contractual, personal, or philosophical. And that's what fans are left trying to piece together. Was it a disagreement in the locker room? A clash of egos? Did the front office decide it couldn't afford to keep both stars long term? Or was this something even deeper? Something that started simmering long before it finally boiled over? Reports had already begun circulating in recent weeks that Tyreek Hill was growing increasingly frustrated. Some said he wanted a new contract. Others claimed he was unhappy with how he was being used in the offense. There were even whispers that he'd considered retirement after the season, though Hill has always been the type to keep people guessing. But no one quite expected this. Not an outright separation. Not Tua coming forward to say in no uncertain terms that the partnership was over. Tua, for his part, has always carried himself with poise. He's not the kind of quarterback who throws teammates under the bus. He's not one for drama, which makes his announcement all the more startling. If he's saying this, then you can bet the situation had reached a point where it couldn't be ignored. And when a quarterback distances himself from his top receiver, especially one as dynamic as Hill, it tells you that something fundamental has changed inside the team dynamic. Of course, the implications go far beyond the interpersonal. Strategically, this is a bombshell. Tyreek Hill isn't just any wide receiver. He's a game changer, the kind of player who shifts defensive game plans all on his own. Defensive coordinators lose sleep over him. Safeties get burned by him. Fans rising out of their seats every time he touches the ball. Take him out of the equation, and Miami's offense suddenly looks a lot less terrifying. And what about Tua? He's coming off the most productive stretch of his career, thanks in no small part to the presence of Hill and Jalen Waddle. Without Tyreek stretching the field, will defenses key in on Waddle more aggressively? Will Miami be forced to become more conservative, relying on short passes and clock management instead of explosive plays? These are the kinds of questions head coach Mike McDaniel will have to answer. Fast, because the AFC is no joke. The Chiefs, the Ravens, the Bengals, the Bills, they're not slowing down. They're reloading, retooling, and pushing their chips to the center of the table. If Miami wants to keep pace, it has to find a way to replace not just Tyreek Hill's production, but his presence, his energy, his swagger, and that's not an easy thing to do. There's only one cheetah in the league, and when he's gone, you feel it. Some fans are holding out hope that this is just a miscommunication, a misunderstanding that can be patched up. After all, stranger things have happened in the NFL. Players reconcile, teams find middle ground, and money can be a powerful motivator. But based on Tua's tone, this feels final. This feels like two paths diverging, and only one of them leads to Hard Rock Stadium on Sundays. There's also the matter of timing. We're days away from the NFL draft, a time when front offices are buzzing with activity. Could this revelation be a signal? Is Miami preparing to draft a receiver high to fill the void left by Hill? Are they clearing cap space for a trade? Or is this the beginning of a longer rebuild, one that sees the team shift away from its current offensive identity altogether? Whatever the case may be, this is a moment that will define the Dolphins' offseason and perhaps their next chapter. Tua Tagovailoa stepping out and declaring the end of his on-field partnership with Tyreek Hill is more than just news. It's a turning point. It's the end of one of the most exciting duos in recent NFL memory. And it's a stark reminder that in this league, nothing lasts forever. For the fans in Miami, it's a tough pill to swallow. There was so much hope, so much potential in that connection. They were the highlight reel kings, the spark that lit up Sundays. And now it's over just like that. No dramatic farewell game, no final touchdown dance. Just an announcement and a lot of questions left hanging in the humid Florida air. So now, all eyes turn to the Dolphins front office. What's the plan? Where do they go from here? Can they keep Tua happy and confident without his top weapon? Can they find a new dynamic playmaker to take over that role? And can they do it quickly enough to stay relevant in a brutally competitive conference? Time will tell. But one thing's for sure, when Tua Tagovailoa speaks, people listen. And today he said something that changes everything. That's a wrap for today's dive. If you're loving the content, share it with a fellow Dolphins fan. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a splash. Fins up.